All right, so now we're going to go over how to perform the p-test. And so you can see here I have my well plate. Again, you can use a simple ceramic dish or glass dish. Just make sure to designate that only for this use. The compound paraphenylenediamine is a known carcinogen, so just be careful with it. Wash your hands after using it. Don't use it anywhere where you consume food, and make sure to keep it stored in a safe place. So with that in mind, then, you want to always use a very small amount. Unfortunately, a small amount goes a long ways. So first what I've done is I have my specimen. In this case, we're going to be looking at first the species Cladonia fimbriata. This is a rather small piece. There's some squamules down there. So I already prepared my specimen, and so what I did is I just ripped off a small piece of paper, and then I placed a squamule on top of it in preparation. Then what I did is I took the P compound and I sprinkled a small amount into this well. You can see it right there, it's that dark thing. And so then what I'm going to do is prepare my capillary tube, which basically just means grabbing it, and get my ethanol. Like I said, isopropanol works fine as well. The only thing is that it just, of course, takes a little longer to dry, and sometimes the colors won't be quite as apparent until it's actually dry, so just be patient sometimes. And so then you'll just take a drop of your alcohol and drop that on the pea, on the powder or crystal. You can just kind of let it sit for a second, stir it a little bit. You can see it's dissolving slightly. And then you, when you did that, it was taken up in the capillary tube, and so now I have some there. And so then you'll just, I usually hold the paper, and then you can just spot some on your lichen specimen that you're interested in, and then observe the color change. So you can see it's already turning yellow. And so that's one reason that I really like the p-test, because for me it's really a reliable test. I feel that it's really easy to say whether or not it has a positive reaction or not. And so Cladonia fimbriata is a species that has the compound fumar protocitric acid, and it reacts with a P plus red reaction. And you can see here, as we've been waiting, it started out yellow, but now look at that color change. It's really getting into that red color. So this is definitely a P plus red reaction. And one thing that I'll mention, so say you're doing this test and you have your specimen stored in a nice little packet. The way you would write this down on your packet is you would write P plus R. So that means that you've tested it and now you've recorded it, and so you don't have to do it multiple times. You can see that you've done it in the past if you come back and are keying it later. Okay, so there we have the P plus red reaction on the Cladonia. Let's try another lichen specimen. And so then what I'll usually do is I'll have a small little plastic bag, Ziploc bag, that I designate pea trash, and I'll collect my pea trash in it, and then eventually just throw that away. Okay, so now what I'll do is let's get another lichen, and we're going to now use the lichen Hypogymnia inactiva. And so I've got some right here. I'm going to just take off a little piece, put it on my piece of paper. And so here the cortex should have a P plus pale yellow or a P minus. There are can be different chemotypes or different reactions for this species. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So again, I'm kind of holding the paper down, and then I'm gonna spot the P, maybe get a little bit more. See, actually you can see in my well plate that the ethanol is already evaporated and it's kind of formed a little ring around the edge. So what you can do as you're doing tests like this, you just basically rehydrate it. Add another drop of ethanol. And I usually try and get it on the sides to bring down that pea that's on the sides now. And kind of just stir it a little and got some more pea. And so we can make sure that we've got enough on the specimen. You can see we definitely do, because it's even getting onto the paper. And we can just wait a few seconds to see if there's any color change as it dries. So in this instance, I'm not seeing any reaction. I'm not seeing any clear color change, maybe a pale yellow, just ever so slightly, which would be the substance atranorin. But I might go with P- on this one. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do another specimen. Now we're going to test Loberia pulmonaria. And so here I've got my Loberia pulmonaria. I'm going to break off a piece. And in this case, it's the medulla that should have a reaction, whereas the hypogymnia would have been the cortex. So keep it, the key will tell you where to look specifically for a reaction, because it can differ depending on what lichen you're testing. So here we're going to be looking at the medulla, which is just kind of that, the white part below the cortex. Let's see if we can get in a little bit closer. And refocus. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to spot on the P. Sometimes you have to really mush it on there a couple times. Okay, so we're starting to see a bit of a color change in the medulla there, which is what we would expect, because this lichen should have stictic acid, which has a P+ orange reaction. And so it is starting to become orange. I think as it dries a little more, it might become a little bit more orange. So there you have it. That's another example of a positive P reaction, in this case orange, because of the presence of stictic acid. Now I'm just going to kind of show you real quick what I do to clean up after doing the P test. So here I have my well plate still with P on it. So the first thing that I do is I clean my capillary tube, because you can reuse that for quite some time. And so what I do is I'll just add some plain ethanol to another well, and I'll just suck that up, and I'll clean it and release it out multiple times to remove any pee that's in the capillary tube. And so you'll just do that, I'd say 3 or 4 times. Just pull up some ethanol, remove it onto a tissue paper, and then now you can reuse your capillary tube another time. And then for the well plate itself, what I do with tissue paper is I'll again add some more ethanol to that, a couple drops this time, and just do a nice good scrub like that. And you'll do that several times with plenty of ethanol to just get any residue of the pea off of there. And I will say it does usually, after time, especially if you've used it for a little while, it will eventually stain. Like you can see here, it's a little bit stained. That's okay. Of course, that though is the reason why you wouldn't want to use this for any food or anything like that. And so then you would just take that waste and add it to your little Ziploc bag of pea waste, and then go wash your hands, and you're good to go.